Hi everybody, this is Ryan McGlone with Cascade Sotheby's, and thanks again for tuning in to another Central Oregon real estate market update. I'm really excited to bring you this month's update because we are just now wrapping up the tail end of our peak selling season here for 2021. And a lot of people have been approaching me and asking me where I think the market is going as we head into a little bit of our quiet period here over the winter and into spring of 2022. And although I can't predict the future, we did just get our financial results from the Central Oregon Association of Realtors for October of 2021. And I can say that those numbers actually do suggest that we're probably going to have a fairly strong seller's market as we do head into 2022. I wanted to take the moment to just share a couple of reasons why I think those numbers are telling us that story, and maybe one wild card out there that could impact just how strong of a seller's market we have next year. But before we jump into those three topics, I think it's important to understand and get some context as to why October's numbers are so important. And when we look at the general sales curve as to how inventory and sales flow over the course of a year in Central Oregon, October is very important because the unit volumes that we transact are actually more in line of what we see in the later months of summer than they are compared to what we see in November and December and January. Those 3 months tend to be about, levels that are about 40 to 50% of the peak volumes that we see over the summer. And October, we might be down 10 to 20% in volumes compared to those months. So we have a lot of data to analyze, and it really gives us a good snapshot as to what happened towards the very tail end of our summer selling season, which tends to set the stage for what we see as we go into early spring of next year. And when I look at those numbers, one number that really stands out to me that suggests that we're still in a strong seller's market is just our median and average sales prices. So the median sales price for home in Bend in the month of October came in at $643,000. And that is just a few $1,000s shy of those peak volumes that we actually saw this summer. So we have continued to see very, very strong demand at the current pricing that is out there in Central Oregon all the way through the tail end of the summer, all the way into September. And once again, that kind of sets the stage for strong demand as we wind down into the winter, moving into, of course, the spring of next year. The other metric that really suggests that we're going to be set up for a strong seller's market in the spring is going to be how our inventory is analyzed in terms of the months of supply, or the velocity of inventory that is on the market compared to the number of sales transactions that are happening each month. So if we look at the months of inventory on the market for October, we're sitting just over 1.45 months, which is a tiny bit lower than where we were for September at 1.6 months. So velocities have actually picked up a little bit. And if we look at that number and we compare October's 1.45 to what we typically saw pre-COVID for the years of 2017 to 2019, we're at about half the months of inventory on the market right now that we saw during that time frame pre-pandemic. And during those pre-pandemic years, we were actually appreciating at a rate of 8 to 10% year over year. So inventories are being scooped up at almost twice the speed that they were pre-pandemic. We have sales prices that are holding on very steady to our all-time highs that we saw earlier this summer as we transition into our slow months and, of course, into the spring. So that, October being a bellwether month, that really tells me that it looks like we're shaping up to have a very strong seller's market during the spring. Now, I would say the one wild card out there is going to be interest rates. We have seen interest rates steadily climb this year. At the beginning of the spring, we were trending somewhere about 2.75% on a 30-year fixed mortgage. Right now, we're probably sitting more at about 3.3%. And earlier today, the Fed did announce that they are going to be tapering their bond buying programs, and that did push up the 10-year Treasury a tiny bit, and ultimately that could filter down to another increase in rates. Now, even with that said, we don't typically see rates jump significantly overnight. They might increase by 1/8 of a point, 1/4 point, etc., but they don't jump traditionally. I mean, they could, but they don't typically jump, a 1/2 percentage point or a full percentage point in a relatively short period of time. And I think as long as we don't see some sort of, fantastic jump like that, there's a very good chance that we're going to still have relatively competitive rates as we head into the spring of 2022. And as long as that happens, once again, I think we're shaped up for a very strong seller's market. So how would I look at this if I were a buyer or seller sitting here as we head into the winter? If I were a buyer, personally, I'd be hedging my bets on getting into the market sooner rather than later, as I think there's a higher likelihood that we will see prices appreciate as we go into the spring, and the winter kind of presents a good opportunity to get out there and find yourself a home. Now for sellers, the winter can still be a fairly good time to sell if you are looking to, make that move sooner rather than later. Typically during winter, we see that the buyers that are out there are a little bit more serious. And also, as a new home on the market, you're actually fairly competitive, because a lot of the homes that do tend to be on the market during the winter are homes that maybe were less desirable or had been sitting on the market overpriced during the summer. So you end up on the market as a fresh and new listing, and you're attracting those really competitive buyers that just weren't able to find something over the summer. And that's exactly what we're doing with this beautiful little acreage property behind me. We have a very solid marketing plan in place. We've got some contingency plans out there if things don't go our way, and we have a very good understanding of the market pricing and competitive pricing for a property like this. And our hope is that we're going to go out there and knock it out of the park here in a couple of months. A couple of weeks. If you have any questions at all about buying or selling as we do head into the fall and into the winter, feel free to give us a call. We're always happy to discuss what's going on in your neighborhood, or to help you analyze your scenario so that you can make the most well-informed decision possible with your real estate. Once again, thanks again for tuning into our update, and we look forward to see how this plays out over the next couple of months and chatting with you all here in another month or two. Take care, everybody.